I have reason to believe that the earthquake in Kobe, Japan, by the way, I'm a geologist, I know exactly what I'm talking about. There was no pulse in the pulse wave. There's supposed to be a pulse wave in any earthquake. There was none in the Kobe, Japan earthquake. None. In 1989, in and around San Francisco, there was an earthquake. There was no pulse or pulse wave. That is a Tesla device. Nikola Tesla invented it, and he did it not out of evil, but he was trying to make a device that could be accurately used for construction and building of buildings and that kind of thing. It's been taken for evil, though, guaranteed. I want you to know that the black budget programs throughout these United States have subverted science as we know it. What's AIDS, for instance? I'll tell you what AIDS is. AIDS was invented by the National Ordnance Laboratory in Chicago, Illinois in 1972. It was a biological weapon to use against the people of these United States. The reason I know this, I have seen the documentation by the Office of Strategic Services, which by the way is still in operation to this day, through the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. They used the glandular excretions of animals as well as humans as well as outer space aliens. I'll tell you something about these outer space aliens. They're mortal. They can be shot dead just like you and I can, but I'll tell you one thing. They're bad news in the worst order. We have absolutely no defense against their germs. None. They're a biological weapon of terrible consequence. I advocate that every alien on this planet, good or bad, if they're good or bad, they have to be isolated. They are a biological weapon. Saddam Hussein and other people have killed 3.5 million Kurdish people with a similar biological weapon. Do we, the people of this planet, deserve this? No, we don't. But we're not doing anything about it. And every moment that we waste, every moment that we don't blurt out and we say we've had enough, that we deserve better, that we're going to get better, we're doing other people on this planet in different countries a great disservice. Right now I'm dying of cancer related to work that I did for the federal government. I might live 6 months, I might not. I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. If I keep speaking out the way I am, maybe God will give me the life to talk my head off. I will break every law that it takes to talk my head off. I love my country and its people more than my life. 11 of my best friends in the last 22 years have been murdered. 8 of them called suicide. I finally got wind of one of them. Portland police is now involved in one of them. Not going to mention names. Before a grand jury, including the medical examiner's office. Murder by suicide, they call it. My friend Ronald Lee Rummel is an Air Force officer, is a Silver Star winner, is a patriot, murdered because he started speaking out about unidentified flying objects while being still employed as a member of the United States Air Force. How was he murdered? He was drugged, his jaw was broken open, a cheap pistol with filed off numbers called a Jennings J22 was shoved in his hand. Somebody pulled the trigger because they found a piece of a fingerprint or inside of a palm print on the weapon. They also found hair samples, somebody quickly putting the bullets into the clip. That man saved my life. That man had a family of 5 children. That man was a great person. There's a good chance that when I fly back to Vegas, I have to drive home. I left my car down in Vegas. I have to drive home alone. I'm scared to hell. Before I went to talk in Las Vegas, Nevada, I drove a friend of mine, a disabled friend of mine, down to Joshua Tree. And 29 Palms is next to Joshua Tree, and I went to see a dying veteran, disabled veteran friend of mine also. Kind of an acquaintance friend. I don't see him very often. Can hardly talk. He's got throat cancer from working with atomic weapons. Federal government didn't want to pay for it, so he married a nurse whose father has donated enough money to keep him alive for a little longer. Well, after seeing these 2 people, I drove up over the mountains. I had to drive around the mountains and up into them to get to Needles, California. It was followed by 2 government vans, E350 vans with G14 plates, each with a couple of occupants apiece. One had an Uzi ready, he was loading it because I could see it through one of the windows. They zoomed by. I knew exactly what they were. I've already spoken out. I've spoken in 19 talks to present. I've probably reached 45,000 people. Well, they sped up around me. I sped up around them, took a bunch of pictures with a high-speed camera. Then they caught up to me, and it looked like they were trying to force me off the road. I have a Ford Taurus sedan. But what they don't know about that Ford Taurus sedan's got a police interceptor motor. It's got an 8-liter motor. It'll do 140 in the shade. So I got up above them, and I come to a screeching halt right in the middle of the road. And the road was just wide enough for my car and maybe a foot on either side. There was a deep ravine to the left. There was a shallow ravine about 9 or 10, I'd guess roughly 9 feet deep, 10 feet deep, something like that. On the other side. One of them skidded over, rolled over in the right ditch. One went over to the left ditch and rolled all the way down. I could hear a bunch of cries for help and crackling and glass, and finally I didn't hear anything. Is this what it's going to take? 2 weeks ago, I had a man come to my Wilsonville apartment, going to arrest me. By the way, I have a Rhyolite 38 clearance. I don't know if you know what that means. I only report to 3 individuals with that clearance. President of the United States, head of the CIA, and or a base commander. No one else. This man came to arrest me. He called the sheriff. Said, I can't open the door to you. Open the door or we'll beat it in. I said, if you beat it in, you're at risk of your life. Are you threatening me? Yes, sir, I'm threatening you. I'm going to call the sheriff right now and have you removed. You're threatening my life. Called the sheriff. Sheriff came, Clackamas County Sheriff car came, pulled right behind him. I know this man very well. I would trust him with my life after what he did. He risked his job. He risked a 22-year career with the police department. He went right behind this guy, prevented him from getting out. He threw a bullhorn. He says, you are under arrest. please come with me, I'll escort you out. He was escorted out in handcuffs to his disgrace. Sheriffs have a lot of power in this country. They can arrest FBI, CIA, DIA, and the like. It's a very good thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Now, I want to end this talk by mentioning we all know what the Patriot movement stands for. Every one of us loves America. Most of us love America more than our life. Most of us are willing to defend it as we have defended it before. And we'll defend it again and again and again for how many times it takes until we get the objective done. I would like to believe I'm a patriot. I'm no longer employed by the federal government. I took a pair of scissors and cut up my security card, and I mailed it back to the SOBs, pardon my French. I wrote a detailed letter and said, my life is threatened in any way, shape, or form. I did this. It's already been threatened. I will consider downloading 140,000 pages of information sensitive to the New World Order, Strategic Defense Initiative, and what it really stands for, and the federal government structure as a whole. I've already begun to do this through the Infonet and the Internet worldwide. I spent $78,000 getting these kind of pictures away from the federal government after my father willed them to me in his will. Here all they are, a piece of paper with a few revealing notes on them. Incidentally, Val Thor is this particular character right here. Right here. He hasn't changed a bit in 58 years, thereabouts. I have over 7,000 pictures. I have detailed files and writings. I have alien artifacts and medals. You're only looking at half a dozen of maybe 7,000 that I have. I feel you people have to know the truth as best as I could tell it. Thank you very much. By the way, I might want to mention, if you want to look at these artifacts, try not to handle them, just look at them. And,
Questions, Phil?
yes.
Thank you. You indicated that you were injured in shooting a critter.
Right.
Would you mind explaining to us your injury?
I'll be glad to. Sorry, women folk, this is kind of gory.
What did you say it was that hit you?
Okay. My legs are worse. It was some form of ray weapon that had a high dose of stinking radiation called cobalt, or dirty bomb radiation. I remember the color of the beam. It was a light green, kind of like a light emerald green. Question?
You know much about the reverse phase wave?
No, I do not. Question?
Have you heard the civilian federal transfer center being built in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and I think Michigan?
Yes, and I can tell you that there are 50 of them. There's one in every state.
Can you describe what their purpose is?
Purposes, they are prison camps. Will make Nazi Germany look like a kid's toy. They're very large. As big as they are above ground, they are a minimum of 3 levels below ground. Have you ever heard of Goose Lake, for instance? Goose Lake is a prison. It's a supposed model prison run by Wackenhut. Wackenhut is Fourth Reich Nazi German. They run this entire police state operation in Southern California.